It's spring, and it's time to fish. This year, TakeMeFishing.org wants everyone to experience their first catch. Whether it's the first of the day, first of the season, or first of a lifetime, show it with hashtag #FirstCatch. Adventure is waiting to be caught.
National League Central rivals go head-to-head this weekend when the Pirates face the Cubs at Wrigley.
Swing and a miss, he struck him out.
The pregame at 3 Eastern, first pitch at 4. Saturday on ESPN Radio and the new ESPN app. This is the Best of Mike and Mike podcast on ESPNRadio.com. The Best of Mike and Mike.
Hi, it's Greeny. Thank you for checking out the Best of Mike and Mike podcast. This is what we have for you today. Plenty of NBA playoff talk with Jeff Van Gundy and Tim Legler. Jay Will in our studio listed his top 5 point guards in the playoffs, and I got into a radio war, if you will, with Stugotz.
The Best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Back and better than ever. Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Our guests on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. And your chance to win a fabulous trip to the ESPYs. We announced this spring's contest yesterday. The details are on the way. If you weren't with us, winning word, just be listening, and you have a chance to win a fabulous trip to Hollywood with all the trimmings. Mike and Mike with Jay Williams in for Golic again today. The big fella will be back tomorrow. I got a good menu working for you today. NFL schedule will be released tonight. I've got 5 things you need to know. Jay has his top 5 point guards in the NBA, and I will disagree with them based on things you didn't actually say, because that seems to be in vogue. And whoever is running the Skins Twitter feed desperately needs to just shut up. All that and a whole lot more. Jam-packed guest list. How are you, Jay?
I'm doing great.
How are you feeling as far as the sleeping pattern? Because you got the late-night NBA playoff games into the early morning, back-to-back days. Sometimes you do that one day, and it's no problem. After 15 years, I've learned the second day is usually the challenge.
Yes, I'm going to admit, I felt like an old man last night. I fell asleep with the USA Today in my hands in the fourth quarter with about 7 minutes left to go in the game. So, yes, it happens.
Reading glasses, perched
everything,
over
right on the right in the end of the nose.
Yeah, that's exactly right. All right, so let's start with the games last night. Let's start with 2 guys remarkably similar sort of in the stage of their careers who won their games for their teams last night. And they are Klay Thompson and Jimmy Butler. Bucks at Bulls last night, Pelicans at Warriors. Jimmy Butler scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. Klay Thompson scored 14 points in the fourth quarter. The Bucks scored 14 themselves. Jimmy Butler scored as many points in the fourth quarter as Milwaukee did. Klay Thompson was only outscored by 2 in the fourth quarter last night by Golden State. Those guys took over the game, and listen how similar they are. They're both 25 years old. They're both in their 4th season. They both made their first All-Star teams this year, and they both had 14 points in the fourth quarter last night. Jimmy Butler and Klay Thompson, 2 true young NBA stars carrying their teams to wins last night.
The only word to describe Jimmy Butler was en fuego last night in the fourth quarter. I mean, he was calling ISOs, his ability to attack the basket. He wasn't this type of player at Marquette. He was strictly a slasher. And now his ability to make 3-point shots really opens up the floor for a guy like Derrick Rose to attack to get into the paint. Last night, there were 2 guys where I walked away. It's between Draymond Green and then Jimmy Butler, where I just said, pay me my money.
Oh, yeah.
Pay me my money.
Well, Jimmy Butler's a max player, right?
Hands down.
He plays 46 minutes a game.
Most improved player in the league, by the way.
Twice in a row. I think he was the most improved player in the league last year.
I agree with you.
And he's improved that much again this year. He's a genuinely great player because of what he does on the defensive end as well, right? He's a great defender. He gives LeBron trouble. He's the guy who covers the best cover on the other team every night. Plus, he's now become a total scorer, a great team player. What did he have last night? He finished with... Oh, my God, I was just circling all of his numbers.
He had 30 points.
He finished with 31 points, 9 rebounds in 46 minutes last night and didn't turn the ball over.
Here's the beautiful thing about that, and this is why I think you have to make him a max player in the Bulls, just because you're a little bit uncertain with what's going to happen with D. Rose. I mean, and D. Rose last night struggled in the first half, 0 points. He did have 6 assists, 7 rebounds. He started to come into his own in the second half. But just there's an uncertainty when I watch D. Rose now, and you'll see that with my top 5 point guards in the playoffs. All right, but I get worried because every time I see him go up, Greeny, I don't know if there's going to be another injury that's waiting to happen.
Yeah,
it makes me nervous.
I mean, it was scoreless in the first half last night, was D. Rose. And I think that, he himself said, well, I just can't. Well, let me play it for you, actually. Why would I tell you what? He said, let me play it for you. He himself said you can't expect the kind of performance he had in Game 1 every night.
It's the playoffs. Every game is different. That's what I love about the playoffs. Even when you don't got things going, always find a way to change the game or give your team your all. And tonight it came from me passing the ball and just trying to find people.
He did have 9 assists. He scored 15 points last night. But that is the thing. We talked about it yesterday. And I was on with Carmen and Yurko in Chicago yesterday afternoon as well on ESPN 1000 promoting our ESPYs contest. And we were talking about this. The question is, can Derrick Rose be the Derrick Rose he was in Game 1 5 times in a 7-game series? Well, there he is almost telling you himself that may not be a realistic expectation. The good news for the Bulls is I don't know that they need him to be.
Exactly.
You know, this was a team that 3 years ago, if Derrick didn't do it, nobody was going to do it. And as Carmen pointed out to me yesterday in Chicago, the X factor that Cleveland would have against them is that late in the fourth quarter of a close game, the Cavs are going to put LeBron on Derrick Rose, right? They're not going to put Kyrie Irving on. They're going to put LeBron on Derrick Rose, and he's going to shut him down. But unlike 4 years ago, and that's how long ago it was that this took place, unlike 4 years ago, the Bulls have other places to go, and that starts with Jimmy Butler.
It does. Jimmy Butler was phenomenal last night. Also, you know, it's a supporting cast. You talk about Paul Gasol had 11 points, 16 rebounds. Another player who I'm actually infatuated by is Joakim Noah. First off, the hair is amazing. I don't know what kind of shampoo he uses. It's off the charts. And secondly, he had 6 points last night, but he had 19 rebounds. And he actually leads the team in assists. He had 5 assists last night. He's the best passing big man in the game right now. So their ability to play through him, it takes his team to a different level. Yeah,
Gasol and Noah combined for 35 rebounds last night, 29 on the defensive end, and that was a big part of the difference in the game last night. The Bulls out-rebounding the Bucks 64-48, so totally dominant on the board. So despite the fact the Bulls don't shoot well, they shoot only 38% from the floor, but you get more opportunities. They took 81 shots last night. So the Bulls get themselves a win that they need. They take the 2-0 lead. The Warriors get a win that they need. They get the 2-0 lead. So commanding leads by both teams. I don't think anyone had any other expectation. These are series I don't think either of us expected to be especially competitive. It's Mike and Mike's What's Trending Now, which is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. New improved taste, 10 great flavors. Have you tried 5 Hour Energy shots lately? What more do I have out of that one? Oh, on Derrick Rose. Here's Tim Legler on what he thinks you can expect out of Derrick Rose.
One of the things I really like about this team, Tom Thibodeau has a lot of weapons at his disposal, and you're going to see Derrick Rose now pick and choose his spots, when to be a scorer, when to be a facilitator. It was Jimmy Butler's night in the fourth quarter. They rode him all the way to the wire, and he delivered. That's why he was an all-star.
So there's what we were talking about there, basically, exactly. That's the bottom line is they know it's good news and bad news. The bad news is you probably can't expect Derrick Rose to be Derrick Rose every night. The good news is they probably don't need that.
The gift and the curse. The curse is obviously for Derrick Rose being hurt, but I think the gift for the Bulls is that through the process of him being hurt, you've had other people step up because they've had to. Jimmy Butler is becoming an all-star. You talk about Paul Gasol, Joakim Noah. Tony Snell has stepped up for this basketball team. Aaron Brooks is a lightning rod off of the bench. Now Derrick Rose, he didn't need to score in the first half. He did have 6 assists and 7 rebounds, so he got his teammates involved. And I still believe when he wants to take the ball game over towards the end of a ball game in a pick-and-roll situation, he has the ability to blow by and do that.
On the other side, again, Klay Thompson had 14 points in the fourth quarter on 6 of 8 shooting. Steph Curry did not score in the fourth quarter of a close game last night against New Orleans, and it was Klay Thompson leading the way. So while Curry is, in my opinion, the MVP, I believe that he will win and should win the MVP award this year. That would be my vote if I had a vote. But he's another one who's got a lot of help. And on a night that he needed it last night, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green as well. But particularly in the fourth quarter, Klay Thompson, the other half of the Splash Brothers, was splashing them all over the place.
You know what I love about Klay is that, yes, there's been a ton of hype about Stephen Curry, and it's well-deserved. He is going to be the MVP of the league. But Klay Thompson, that move right there, his ability at 6'7", 6'8" to drive, people run out on these guys because they're three-point shooters. They want that kind of attention. But his ability to get the ball down the ground and finish at the rim because of his size is something that makes him special. I mean, that's a big-time move right there. He's doing all this stuff off the dribble, floaters, off-legged runners. It's just a plethora of shots around the rim.
Yeah, Klay Thompson, another one. He scored 26 points last night and didn't turn the ball over. So a very good night for him and for the Warriors. I got good sound coming out of that one as well. Let's hear a little bit of Steve Kerr as his team takes a 2-0 lead.
They're a handful. We know that. Between Davis and their three-point shooters and the penetration from Evans, you've got to cover a lot of floor and try to contain Davis with other people because he's too good to guard one-on-one. So it's a lot to ask, but that we feel like that's the identity of our team is our defense and our versatility at that end. And I thought Draymond was just fantastic, Bogut fantastic, and the defense carried the day.
And that's the key, is the defense. Draymond Green ranks second in the NBA in defensive win shares this season. He was paid under $1 million. So he's a guy, as you pointed out, is going to get himself paid and clearly deserves it. An incredibly important player on the best team in the league.
He's only making $915,000. And when you think about what he brings to the team, look, Steph Curry is maybe the heart of the team, but I mean, this kid is the spirit of the basketball team for them. He locks down. He does whatever you need him to do. He's a utility player. And Steve Kerr said it correctly. Their defense won the game last night. The Pelicans shot 26% from the field in the second half. That's their worst half of shooting this entire year. And here's another crazy stat for you, Greeny. Mm-hmm. How about the last time the Warriors lost at home? November 11th. November 11th against the Spurs. The last time they lost a game at home. That's absurd.
Absurd.
That's crazy.
Yeah. It is. It's all-time stuff. I mean, you win 67 games in the regular season. They have had a magnificent year, and they drew. Everyone was talking about what if they draw Oklahoma City with Westbrook and all that kind of stuff when they were playing well, and it didn't happen. They drew a Pelicans team that, with all due respect to Davis, who I think is on his way to being one of the great players in the league and maybe an all-time great player. At least he has the ability to be that. They're an easy first-round matchup. So they'll get through that. Then things will get interesting. Let me ask you this, because watching the games last night, good games, both of them good games, but not an enormous amount of drama, I thought, on either front, because I expect the Bulls to win their series easily. I expect the Warriors to win their series easily. Where are we looking for a really good first-round matchup? Which of these series do we expect? We've had 10 games so far in the first round of the playoffs to this point. Which series are you expecting to be really, really good, 6-7, incredibly competitive series?
Spurs, Clippers.
Okay, that's one.
Spurs, Clippers, and
Dallas, Houston?
Dallas, Houston, I don't really know. Not with the way Rajon Rondo's playing. Now if Monte Ellis needs to go off, but I think the favor is going to be Houston in that series.
All right, so I got one of them so far. We got 8 series. You got one?
I think I have one. I have one.
Does Portland make that a series at Memphis?
Not the way Memphis grinds it out. Not when you. I think losing Wesley Matthews really hurts them. Aaron Aflalo didn't play last game, and just the wall they built to stop Dame Lillard. I mean, Dame Lillard took 21 shots the other night. I don't really see it with him either. LaMarcus Aldridge is taking threes from about a foot behind the NBA three-point line to get his shot off. I think Memphis dominates that series as well.
I'm looking for a good series. What am I missing in the first round? Atlanta and the Nets?
I already told you how I felt about the Nets yesterday.
No, I know you're down on them and down on Darren Williams. No, I don't expect it either. I'm just going through. No, I don't expect that to be a good series. So we're looking at sort of trying to work our way through this first round to get to where we're expecting the drama to begin. Assuming we get Cleveland, Chicago, that's a great series.
Great series.
All right, that has the potential to be a great series. Atlanta, Washington. Do we expect Washington, Toronto? That's the one I forgot. Washington, Toronto,
I think that's fair that you brought that up. I think Toronto is a different team. I don't see Kyle Lowry fouling out. I mean, that team for Toronto, they scored 2 points in the overtime matchup against Washington. I don't think John Wall and Bradley Beal are going to play that bad anymore. I mean, Bradley Beal was shooting shots off the side of the backboard, for God's sake. He was everywhere in that ball game. But I would still favor, I think, D.C. to win that series. But I think it could be a decent series.
So
maybe 6 games.
If things were to shape up, so we're looking at hopefully Clippers, Spurs give us a bunch of drama in round one. Maybe Washington, Toronto, maybe Dallas and Houston. But then you would set the bracket, and then it would get really interesting because Cleveland, Chicago obviously is phenomenal.
Great series.
Atlanta and Washington or Atlanta and Toronto, either one, I think from a Nationals perspective, maybe not a whole lot of juice, but would be interesting. And then in the West, whatever you get is going to be awesome, right?
It'll be interesting too, Greeny. So for that Chicago matchup, right, when they go against Cleveland, a lot of people are going to peg that matchup to be potentially the Eastern Conference Finals.
Yes.
Played in the semifinals.
Correct.
And one of these things that we always do, we just came off the Final Four when we saw Kentucky and Wisconsin play, right? Mm-hmm. And everybody's like, well, this might as well be the championship game. And then Duke is able to slip in there. Don't sleep on Atlanta. Don't sleep on Atlanta for the fact that, that's going to be a big-time matchup in Atlanta. If they're able to beat Washington or Toronto, they might be at full strength and healthy, able to cap a win in the Eastern Conference Finals.
Right, and then whatever we get in the West we would expect would be sensational. So there's where we stand with the NBA playoff picture as of this moment. Coming up in exactly 1 minute, it should be a very interesting night tonight beyond the hoops or the hockey playoffs, and we'll explain why in exactly 60 seconds. After this word from LifeLock, are you looking forward to your tax refund? Guess who else is? Identity thieves. They steal refunds by filing fraudulent tax returns. Last year alone, they stole more than an estimated $5 billion from hardworking Americans just like you. Once an identity thief gets a hold of your tax forms, watch out. They know that virtually everything they need to steal your identity, even your life savings, is right there. Help protect yourself with LifeLock Ultimate Plus. They provide protection for your Social Security number, your bank accounts, your investments, even the equity in your home. If you're filing taxes this year, especially if you're filing online, get LifeLock Ultimate Plus. While no one can stop all identity theft and nobody can monitor every single business, LifeLock Ultimate Plus provides their most comprehensive identity theft protection available. Visit LifeLock.com now. Enter our name Mike as the promotional code. You'll save 10% on your LifeLock Ultimate Plus membership. That's promo code Mike at LifeLock.com to get our special 10% discount. It's LifeLock.com. We're Mike and Mike. We're presented by Progressive Insurance. Great guest list today. A lot of hoops. Jay Williams is here all morning. We got Jeff Van Gundy, 7:30 Eastern on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Timmy Legler in our studio today. Bill Wennington in Chicago. Del Curry. Steph's dad. I wonder, and I ask him, we see Del at all the games and everything. Terrific player in his day, for those who don't remember, Del Curry, and now, of course, Stephen Curry's father.
One of the best shooters in the game, by the way, before Steph.
Yeah, so Steph came by it honestly. Yes. At what point does the transition become from, that's Steph Curry, he's Del Curry's kid, to that's Del Curry, he's Steph Curry's dad? I wonder at what point, was it before or after the Davidson run to the Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament when Steph Curry was there? Was that the time that switched? From that's Del Curry's kid to that's Steph Curry's dad.
Well, I got a chance to know Del pretty well because they're associated with Under Armour basketball, and I have a couple friends who work in that division, and it was amazing to watch their reactions during the NCAA tournament because I don't think anybody expected for Steph to be that good. He wasn't, even our own colleague, Seth Greenberg, thought he was decent, but, the kid wasn't getting scholarship offers to high Division I schools, and he was born in Tar Heel country.
Because he's just so small.
You could blow on him. He would fade away.
So how has he managed, at his size, how much you are, I'm just sitting here next to you, okay? Mm-hmm. You are so much, at least to my eye, thicker than he is, right? Steph, It's not just that he's short. We had Steph Curry with us at the All-Star game in Manhattan in February, and I was standing there talking to him. And he's probably, I'm 5'11 and a half. He's probably 2 inches taller than me, maybe. Not more than that. Mm-hmm. And I don't think he weighs more than I do. I really don't. What is he listed at? I don't think he weighs
175.
All right, I weigh 170. It's exactly what I weighed myself yesterday. I weigh 176. So he's basically my size. How in the world is he the best basketball or the MVP of the NBA? He's listed at 185, which I think is directly out of a shower while holding sponges.
He's a wizard with the ball, and I'm going to go ahead and say this because I firmly believe it. And this is a person that I studied tape of when I was younger because my dad was a huge fan of his. I think he is the modern-day version of Pistol Pete Maravich because he is able to get his shot off at any given time because it's unexpected. And, look, these guards these days, they're so tight with the basketball. What I mean by that is when you see guys do moves, when you see Derrick Rose do moves, the ball doesn't really leave like an extension of his body. It stays within this frame, right? He's so loosey-goosey with the ball that it kind of intrigues you to take a shot at trying to get a steal. They're trying to, go after it. And some of the passes he's able to make in traffic, underarm, just over the head. He's magical with the ball. He might be one under 6'2". I don't know if I've seen a better player, maybe other than Allen Iverson. I don't know. Under 6'2"?
How tall is Isaiah Thomas?
Isaiah Thomas, yes.
That's the fight I always have.
As well. I'm sorry,
I have this fight with the Iverson fans all the time. And look, I loved watching Allen Iverson play. He was as entertaining. He was a guy that you would, the price of admission kind of thing. I would pay to watch Allen Iverson play all day long. But if you told me I could either have Allen Iverson or Isaiah Thomas on my team, I'd take Isaiah 10 out of 10 times.
Now, who was a better passer? Would you say Steph Curry was a better passer than Isaiah Thomas? We should get some of those stats up to do like a side-by-side.
Isaiah Thomas, in my opinion, this is just my one man's opinion. I'm older than you are. Well, how old are you?
I'm 33.
Okay, so I'm much older than you are. So you were a kid when Isaiah Thomas
was a huge Isaiah Thomas fan.
Okay,
so I'm with you.
So I hate to say this out loud. I was covering sports when Isaiah Thomas was playing. Isaiah Thomas was when the money was on the line, I would have the ball in Isaiah Thomas's hands, top 5 of anybody I've ever seen. I've ever seen. I'm talking Michael Jordan, Larry Bird, at that level. I saw him play games, and anyone who's my age and older and old enough to, I saw him play games in the NBA Finals against the Lakers when he was the best player on the floor by far. Not even close.
Even when he was hurt.
One of them when he could barely
Exactly.
walk, with the injuries. I saw him score 16 points, and I think in like a minute and a half in a playoff game against the Knicks to send it into overtime. Isaiah Thomas was an incredible player. Incredible. And his Hall of Fame speech, when he said, if I had been 6'6", I would have killed all those guys, he's right. He's right.
Here's the one thing I love about Zeke. Some guys just have it.
Yeah.
Right? And every time you see him, he still, even to this day when I watch him on NBA TV, he still has that killer look in his eyes where he's always playing angry. I love that about players.
The problem with Isaiah Thomas is that the lack of success, the extraordinarily high-profile failure that was his tenure running the Knicks, I think has influenced people's opinion of him and has diminished their view of him as a player, which is unfair. It has nothing to do with him as a player.
That's crazy. So are the views of Michael Jordan diminished as an upper management guy, too? Because
it hasn't. I don't know why it hasn't. Part of it is because Isaiah wasn't as well liked. He was sort of the guy who wore the black hat. They were the bad boys and all that kind of stuff. So to some degree, I think that people already kind of had it in for him. And Isaiah has had several sort of high-profile things that go wrong. The Knicks, the CBA, whatever it was. But none of that has anything to do with him as a player. But we got sidetracked. Steph Curry, Pistol Pete, it's a good analogy. Steph Curry is 1,000 times better player. I said this to him when we were together in New York. I said, you have proven a million people, including me, dead wrong. Coming out, I said, there's a guy who he'll be Steve Kerr in the NBA. That's what I thought he'd be. A guy that, you need a great player on your team to kick it out to him, and he'll just knock down shots all day, but he'll never be a guy who creates his own shot. He'll never be a guy who can hold his own defensively. That's what I expected, and I could not possibly have been more wrong.
Ray said it correctly today before we even started the show. Every time you see this kid shoot, you think it's going in. And half the time he takes a shot, it's an unexpected shot that I don't see him taking. And the kid is unbelievable. I'm going to drop the mic on
remarkable. And just leave it at that. As far as by the way, 144 players have attempted at least 2,000 three-pointers. None have a higher percentage than Steph Curry. At 44%. Yeah, by the time it's all said and done, I think there's a very good chance we'll say he's the greatest shooter that ever lived.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Before we get to Jay's top 5 point guards, give me some football music here. I got the top 5 things we need to know. I think the NFL does this just to aggravate the other sports. They wait until things feel like they're going good. Baseball's got a lot of momentum going right now.
NBA playoffs are going.
NBA and NHL playoffs are rolling along. The big fight is coming up next week. And the NFL says, hey, guys, hold on. We're going to release our schedule. Everyone already knows who's playing who and where. All they're telling you is the order, right? That's all they're telling you. Every team already knows. Every fan of every team already knows its team's schedule, meaning you know the 8 home games, you know the 8 road games. We're now just going to tell you when they're going to be played. And yet everyone is sitting glued to it watching it. So I got the 5 things you need to know. Going into the release tonight, 8 Eastern of the 2015 regular season schedule. Each team will play 6 games against its own division, 4 against a division in the other conference, 4 against a division in its own conference, and then 2 against teams from the other 2 divisions in its conference that finished in the same spot in the standings in 2014, which is the reason that Tom Brady and Peyton Manning will play each other again. They will square off for a 17th time, including the playoffs, this time in Denver. Usually, Peyton always goes to New England, it feels like. This time they'll be in Denver. Brady has won 11 of the previous 16 matchups. Manning has not won a regular season game against Brady since November 15th of 2009. Based on last year's results, do you know which team has the toughest strength of schedule? Again, that's not influenced by tonight. It's Pittsburgh. They have the toughest schedule based on last year. The Falcons have the easiest. The last 3 teams with the easiest strength of schedule entering a season have advanced to at least to the conference championship game. So the Atlanta Falcons, believe it or not.
Are you going to forecast that?
Absolutely not, but it's crazy. The NFL will return to London for 3 games this year, and for the first time ever, a divisional game will be played in London. The Jets will play the Dolphins in London. All 3 of those games will be played 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. That'll be kind of fun to have a Jet game early. And then finally, the 2015 schedule features 6 rematches from last year's playoffs, including both AFC and NFC championship games. and 23 rematches of previous Super Bowls, including duplicates. So schedule release tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern. Huge special on ESPN TV. You'll watch, you'll enjoy. You'll always watch to see how many Monday night games you got, how many Sunday night games. There's all the Thursday night games now. So how many primetime games are your team watching? Selfishly, I hate those for my team because I got my early wake up call and everything else. I love those 9:30 a.m. starts. If we could get that would be delightful for us regularly. What NFL team do you root for?
I'm a Giants fan.
Okay,
I'm a diehard Giants fan.
So how do you feel about the Giants as you sort of
I think we're making moves. I mean, look, getting Victor Cruz back healthy, that's been big. Odell Beckham obviously has had a great year. Shane Vereen we got in the trade. I mean, so look, every time that the Giants or the New York Post put Tom Coughlin or Eli Manning on the hot seat, we win a Super Bowl. So things are looking like they're going our direction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Agree. The Giants, generally speaking, are either somewhere between 7-9, 8-8, or they win the whole thing.
Exactly.
And so maybe this will be a year they win the whole thing.
It's never too early to talk about football.
Mike and Mike, no, tonight 8 o'clock. We'll be watching. We're talking about football. Mike and Mike's presented by Progressive Insurance. Last year, over 3 million drivers switched to Progressive. Call or click today. Find out if you could save. So that's my top 5 list. Jay, how about your top 5 list? Mr. Williams here has compiled his top 5 NBA point guards in the playoffs.
Just getting my sheet ready here.
Bob, give me a little drum roll. Give me a little something. You gave me football music. Give him a little something.
Give me something. Come on with something creative here.
Let me see if I can find a little something on my screen. I got nothing.
You want to give me Stevie Wonder?
No.
Okay.
I got nothing. That's it. Bubba's got something for you. All right, go ahead. What do you got here? Top 5 point guards starting at number 5.
In the playoffs, starting at number 5, I'm going with Mike Conley for Memphis. I just love the way he plays. He does everything for their team. He's the glue for their team. He keeps them together. Obviously, depending upon how far they go in the playoffs, will depend upon Mike Conley being healthy with that plantar fasciitis in his right foot.
Yeah, he's the guy, based upon the team he plays for, that no one ever talks about.
Most underrated guard in the league.
I think so, too. He's a terrific player. So Conley is number 5. Who's number 4?
There are 2 guards that you cannot stop in transition basketball. First being Russell Westbrook. Can't put him on this list because he's not in the playoffs.
Right.
Number 2, John Wall. I love watching John Wall dance with the ball. He is a blur in transition. And obviously, even in the first matchup, his ability to get to the rim and make people around him better is something that's spectacular talent. That kid is crazy athletic on a different level. He will be at number 4 for me.
I'm having some trouble choosing music back there, I can see. So
questionable
Conley
music.
is 5, Wall is 4. Again, there are 16 teams in the playoffs. Top 5 point guards in the playoffs, according to Jay Williams. Number 3.
Number 3 gets a little bit tricky here. This is a little bit of a toss-up. It's probably going to cause some chaos. I'm going to go with CP3 with number 3.
Wow.
I know he led the league in assists, one of the all-time leaders in assists in the NBA. He's a quintessential point guard. He's the leader for that team. He always plays angry, very similar to Isaiah Thomas in that manner. And he's the leader for the team. And I love the way he came out in the first round against San Antonio and really set the bar high with his offensive skill set.
Yeah. CP3, he has what I'm about to say, I don't want it to be misinterpreted because I mean it as a positive thing. He has, because of the TV commercials and all that kind of stuff, this sort of image of this nice guy. And I think he is a nice guy, and he's a very smart guy. But on the court, he's a tough player.
Oh, he's not a nice guy on the court at all.
No, he is a very tough. Did you play against him?
No, I didn't. But I remember sitting in a game watching Duke play against Wake Forest, and Duke was winning in that ball game. And look, it wasn't the right play. Mm-hmm. It was the wrong play. It was kind of a dirty play, but it gave me insight to how competitive CP3 is. A kid for Duke went up for a shot. He gave him a little tap in the private area, and he gave a little tap, and I was like, "Oh, CP3 is the dark side."
That's an uncomfortable laugh on my part. He's got a little nasty in him, and I mean that in a positive way.
Yes.
I think that helps make you a great player. All right, so Conley 5, Wall 4, CP3 3. Who's 2?
Number 2, Kyrie Irving.
Ahead of CP3.
The game is evolving. Kyrie Irving at 23 years old. He's going to hit his prime soon. But what he did, and granted, look, it's one game against the Celtics, and I've heard people say that, but he's been doing it all year. He's had 2 50-plus point games. He's taking over the ballgame. And what I love about him is that, look, he didn't bow down to LeBron. He said, LeBron, I'm adding something to the equation here. And I said it 2 years ago. I thought he was a top 5 point guard. He's moving his way up the list, in my opinion.
All right, so we got Conley, Wall, CP3, Kyrie, and then number 1.
And then you have to go with the Pistol Pete Maravich of our generation.
Yeah.
It's Stephen Curry. I can't stop with Stephen Curry. He is the MVP of the league. He's a wizard with the basketball. He makes passes like Pistol Pete Maravich. He's able to do things in crowds. The shots he takes are shots that are unexpected. I mean, I didn't even know how to defend the guy. People on Twitter were like, Jay, how would you defend him? And I seriously sat there and I think about it. I don't know. You can't double team him because he has too many options offensively. And he's a willing passer, which makes him scary.
Mike and Mike.
Guys, when you buy your clothes at DXL, you look good. But you feel like a rock star. So if you want to look and feel like you'll find all the brands you love, waist size 38 and up, all in one awesome store. DXL, you're looking good. Right now, select dress shirts are just $49.50 each when you buy 2 or more.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
With our friend Jeff Van Gundy, who joins us on the Subway Fresh Take Hotline. Jeff, Mike and Jay Williams in here this morning. How are you, Coach?
Doing great. How are you?
We're doing really well. I want to start the conversation here. We've had a lot of talk this morning about point guards and their value, and Jay has put together his list of the top 5 point guards in the playoffs. And it got me to thinking, there was not a single 7-footer in the NBA this year who averaged 20 points in a game. So just from a mentality now, we all look at the upcoming NBA draft and we think, well, Karl Anthony Towns and Jahlil Okafor are going to go 1 and 2 because they're 7 feet tall and you take the 7-footer. The way the game is played today, does that thinking go by the wayside? If you have a dominant, or what looks like he could be a dominant wing player or point guard, do you now take that guy ahead of the 7-footer based upon the way games are currently being won in the NBA?
Well, if everything is equal, I think you would look to more to the perimeter player. But Anthony Davis is proving you can be a 7-footer and have a huge impact on the game. Tim Duncan still has a huge impact on the game. You still need inside play, but it's different. You need a guy who can pick and roll to the rim. You know, Pau Gasol for Chicago is doing a wonderful job. You need basket protection still. So there are many things you need, but what you can't have or what's going away is the Al Jefferson come down, lock into a block, throw it to him, and have him go to work and be that low post dominant player who then has a little bit of a struggle both in pick and roll offense and pick and roll defense. And so their pick and roll defense is so critical, their mobility, that it'll be very interesting to see how those top 2 big guys adapt to the NBA defensively as much as it will be offensively.
Coach, speaking a little bit about guards, I've been on record today saying that Stephen Curry reminds me of the modern-day Pistol Pete Maravich. Number 1, do you agree with that? And number 2, what makes him so special as a player?
You think I'm that old, Jay, that I saw Pistol Pete? Are you kidding me? Come on now. I'm old, but I'm not that old. But I would say this. You know what is remarkable? And no one talks about it. Pistol Pete, I think, averaged 44 in college, right? So 1 year. I mean, that's remarkable. His handle, his playmaking, his wizardry with the ball, from what I heard was, incredible. Curry, to me, has just been so special. Like, his handle is so tight, the ability to create, very good passer. But just unguardable in pick and roll situations unless you get up and trap him. If your bigs don't have the mobility, and this is what I'm speaking about before, if they don't have the mobility to get up and move their feet, very, very difficult to guard him, and just an array of finishes as well. So, listen, Curry's had a spectacular year, as has his Warriors.
Yeah, in college, Pistol Pete Maravich averaged 43.8, 44.2, and 44.5 points per game at LSU.
If that happened in the ESPN era, Seth Greenberg may faint.
Oh, that's a good one. We would lose Seth for sure. Mike and Mike, Jeff Van Gundy is with us. Here's another just a debate that we're having this morning, because Jay Williams put together his list of the top 5 point guards in the playoffs, and he listed Mike Conley 5, John Wall, CP3, Kyrie Irving, and Steph Curry number 1. And, Derrick Rose not on the list. He's been hurt. I debated a little bit Damian Lillard. And then I said, Jay, you're leaving out the number 1 guy. To me, LeBron James is the best point guard of the NBA. I think he does all the things that point guards do. Now, I understand that when you put the little number next to his name in the starting lineup, you don't write the number 1. But what are your thoughts on LeBron and the actual role that he plays in that team's offense?
Well, I think he's actually been that type of player, Mike, since he came into the NBA. A guy who's capable of leading the league in scoring, but somewhat like Magic Johnson, his best attribute was not his scoring, even though he had that incredible talent. It's his passing, his ability to force a second defender to come to him. If not, he's attacking the rim and is such a great scorer. But when he does get that second defender to him, with that size, the vision, the skill, you're right, he creates so many great three-point shot opportunities for that team. And that's why those trades at mid-season by David Griffin were so important, because they added snipers like, J.R. Smith. And I know everybody talks about, J.R. Smith's volume of threes, but for that team, that's exactly what they needed. They needed a guy who could spread the floor. And so, yes, LeBron James, without question, since he's come in the league and still today, truly operates as point guard, point forward, whatever you want to, designate him at. But his best skill is that ability to create shots for others.
Guys that spread the court to J.R. Smith. How about Kevin Love leads that team in three-point shots taken? But, Coach, I want you to put your GM cap on for 1 second. And there are 2 guys who are in this playoff run who I think are going to be in interesting situations next year. Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. If you're a GM, do you pay both of these guys the max, or what do you do with this situation considering they're both restricted agents after the season?
Well, I think both will get, great offers from their team, but I think some other team will come in and give them an offer sheet of the max, particularly going forward with the big bump in the salary cap the following year. I have no doubts that Jimmy Butler, Draymond Green, Kawhi Leonard are going to get the max from somebody, and I expect all 3 teams to match and keep their own guys because of their value to their team. Draymond Green, to me, should have been – I can't believe he wasn't on the All-Star team this year in the Western Conference. The value he brings to his team, the ability to not only defend multiple positions and do it incredibly well, to rebounding, his passing, and he's not a great three-point shooter, but he's an aggressive three-point shooter, which gives Klay Thompson and Steph Curry even more room. That David Lee injury in the preseason, and David Lee's an accomplished player in the NBA, but that injury really changed the Warriors team, because Draymond Green gets inserted into the starting lineup, and at both ends of the floor, they become better.
Back at Mike, Jeff Van Gundy. One last one for you quickly. Just to me, the most intriguing question so far in the first round of the playoffs. Do you think the defending champion Spurs are in big trouble against the Clippers?
Well, no question. Not because of anything the Spurs have done wrong, but the matchup. It's an archaic system we still have where we give Portland a higher seed with a worse record. I don't understand that. So we're presented with this incredible first-round matchup that should never have occurred because of the records. Portland should be playing the Clippers. So we're going to lose one of the 2 of the top, to me, the top 5 teams in the league in the first round. And the Clippers have as good a starting lineup as any team in the NBA. I think, their depth, their quality of depth may hurt them down the road, but certainly with Chris Paul, playing at such an extremely high level. Blake Griffin, I think, is underrated now in our league. The Spurs have their work cut out for them and their hands full, but the Spurs are such a great team that I expect to see a great response in Game 2.
Jeff Van Gundy, you see him all over the playoffs and here as often as we can get him. Thank you, Jeff.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, take care.
The best of Mike and Mike.
ESPN Radio.
With the action on the court, the diamond, or the gridiron.
Comes alive.
The NBA.
The San Antonio Spurs are the world champions.
Major League Baseball.
San Francisco Giants are the champions of the baseball world.
The new college football playoff.
College football playoff national champion, the Ohio State Buckeyes.
You're home for the best in sports play-by-play.
ESPN Radio.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Jay Williams in for Golic this morning. Our buddy Tim Legler is here to shoot some threes and talk some hoops for an hour. His Subway Fresh take on Mike and Mike presented by Progressive Insurance. Pleasure as always, Legs. How are you?
It is my pleasure to be here this morning.
I was away last week, and I didn't get a chance. I was doing the best I could. I had a bunch of stuff I was attending to, as I mentioned. So I was doing as best I could to sort of stay plugged in with everything. But I really wanted to ask you your perspective. Did you actually see Steph Curry make 77 consecutive threes? And if indeed he really did, could you at your apex have made 77 consecutive threes?
I did not see him do it. I mean, who's got that kind of time? Who has that kind of time to sit around and watch that?
We were at D-Wade's fantasy camp, was it last year?
It was last summer.
You made 27? Was it like 27?
Yeah, it was mid to high 20. Then I just stopped. I got bored.
You just walked off the court.
No, when I heard that the other day, the first thing I said was, "This just absurd. There's just no way.
There's no way."
Right off the bat, you go, "There's just no way." I'm not saying, look, I'm not challenging, the truth of it, but that's absolutely absurd. And people have been asking me ever since, what's the most you ever made in a row at practice? And I don't know, because it's different now, because everybody's videotaping everything you do, so you can document it. Look, let's count them up. Back then, when I was in Washington, I'm sure one day after practice, myself, Mark Price, Brent Price, we're all on the same team, same time. And we would stick around after practice and play these shooting games from the three-point line. And, we would get up to the point between the three of us where we would be up into the 40s without anybody missing. You shoot one and go to the other line, three guys. And, but individually, I don't know what the highest number in a row I ever made in practice was. But I know it wasn't 77. That's just one of the most incredible things I've ever heard.
Mike and Mike, Timmy Legler here in studio with the Subway Fresh Take. Try the new Turkey Italiano melt at Subway today. Subway, eat fresh. I wanted to just tell a very quick story before we get into all the basketball, because we just had in our stack of the 4 most interesting things on Twitter that Channing Tatum, the actor, left a bag in a cab.
I saw that.
And went on Twitter to try and get it back and everything. And Jay brought up, do you think that it was a female who found the cab? And I said, my wife, now you're a married man, Legs, I don't know if there's got to be some man out there, no matter how in love with you your wife is, that just every now and again makes my wife, when a Channing Tatum, whenever a picture of him comes up, if like a preview of his movie comes up, it makes her make a small sound I don't like.
Yeah, my wife is a big Channing Tatum fan as well. Justin Timberlake as well. They're two of the guys at the top.
Yeah, and there's just a little like, and I'm like, I could live without that sound. I could live without her making that sound. So it reminds me, and now she tweets at StacyGSG. She just tweeted, if Channing Tatum left a bag in a cab, I would search the city to find it. Oh. Which is exactly what I needed to hear this morning. But that said, this is many years ago. I was shopping in a store in Miami. I was shopping. My wife is shopping in a store in Miami. And I'm just sitting there. I do what we all do when our wives are shopping in a store. You find the most comfortable looking chair, and you sit down and you read a magazine.
Yes, absolutely.
Right? They've always got these nice glossy magazines.
I get so irritated when they don't have the chair.
Right. You need a chair.
You have to have the chair.
A word to the wise for any boutique or anything like that. If you don't put a chair in there, it's going to greatly cut down on the amount of time I'm going to be willing to sit there and wait.
I'm taking down all these notes for when it does happen to me.
Well, sitting on the floor underneath the rack of clothing is not nearly as attractive an option.
No.
Right.
And here's a one. This should only happen to you. So I'm sitting there, and I did not realize I was sitting right next to a mirror. But basically, there's a mirror next to me that you might come and look at to sort of try something on. My wife is in a changing room trying something on, And I'm reading a magazine, and you can sort of sense that someone is walking towards you to the mirror to try something, to look at themselves in the mirror. And I'm not really paying attention. I guess I assume it stays. All of a sudden, I look up. Oh my God, it's Elle Macpherson.
And you're in position A, by the way.
Position A. She is trying on a pair of jeans, basically for me. All right. I mean, she's not doing it on purpose, but I'm sitting directly next to the mirror. So it's like a one-man fashion show from 4 feet away, and she's trying on a pair of jeans, and God bless her for it. But anyway, she then,
get the popcorn out.
Whatever it is, she puts her phone down on the little table right next to where I'm sitting. She's like taking stuff out of her pocket. She puts the phone down right there. I promise you she did not even notice that I was sitting there. But ultimately, when she leaves the store, she left the phone sitting right next to me. And so now I'm sitting there holding Elle Macpherson's phone. And I'm thinking to myself, I can wait until what she's going to do is she's going to call the number when she realizes she doesn't have it. And I can, give it back to her.
Now, let me say something. That could be a strategic leave.
That's what I meant. I argued that with my wife. I said to my wife, she did that on purpose. She left it. Yeah, she saw me, and she was obviously impressed with me. I mean, who wouldn't be? So I'm trying to argue that she had left it on purpose. Stace was beyond skeptical. She was hysterical laughing. And so I wound up just giving the phone to the people behind the counter, figuring, and she would just come back and get it. And I assumed that she did. I never went back to check. But so Elle Macpherson once tried on a pair of jeans basically for me, and then did the strategic leave.
See, let me tell you the mindset of a single guy. I'm taking the phone with me.
Of course.
I'm taking the phone with me.
If I was single, I would have also.
If you're a single guy, you're taking the phone.
Taking the phone.
And if you left it at the store, I hope you're leaving also a note in case you'd like to thank me. Here's my number.
I didn't do that at the time. All right, Mike and Mike. Let's get to some hoops here with Timmy Legler. We do a feature called Protecting the Lead. It's brought to you by Protection One. Bring the best defensive player to your home or business with Protection One. It's who we choose. Both Mike and I have Protection One home security in our homes. And the two guys who protected the lead last night in the two NBA games were Jimmy Butler and Klay Thompson, who each had 14 points in the fourth quarters of their respective games last night to put those games away in series their teams are expected to win easily, and both of them were in real fights last night, and those guys took over the games in the fourth quarters, and there were remarkable similarities. They're both in their fourth year. They're both 25 years old. They both made their first All-Star teams this year, and Jay's been talking about it all morning long. Jimmy Butler is setting himself to become a very rich man this offseason, isn't he?
There's no question, and the thing about Jimmy Butler that's going to make that wallet a little bit fatter is the fact that he plays both ends. He's a guy that plays both ends of the floor. He competes defensively. He can guard a few different positions. He's got great physical strength, so he can guard bigger guys on switches. He takes that end seriously. He's committed. But then offensively, what he's starting to now develop into, and you saw it last night, what a luxury now for Tom Thibodeau to have multiple options to go to down the stretch. Derrick Rose, early in his career, if that same game takes place, he's taking every shot in the last 4 minutes. And he doesn't have to do that anymore. And I thought it was, if you're a Bulls fan, refreshing last night to watch the way they closed the game out with Derrick Rose really facilitating the offense for Jimmy Butler. And he was the guy that wanted the basketball. He got ISOs. He hit threes. He got to the free throw line. He took over the game at a critical time when they had to have it. And it really makes you sit back and say, wow, you've Pau Gasol probably having the best offensive year he's had since he was in Memphis before he went to the Lakers and won a couple rings. You've now got Jimmy Butler as a 20-point guy, an all-star. You've got Derrick Rose, who looks physically great. He's inconsistent right now, but he looks physically great. You have options now for Tom Thibodeau. And this, to me, is the one team that's the wild card in all of this in the postseason. We know about Cleveland. We expect Golden State. San Antonio's been a team we've been kind of saying, well, maybe they can get it together. I think Chicago's the team that you look at and say, wow, wouldn't this be real interesting if they get through this first round and look impressive, and they get Cleveland in the second round of the playoffs? That's the series I think you look at and say this might be the most important and entertaining series of the entire postseason.
What would you think the matchups will be in that series?
You mean like as far as like LeBron?
Yeah, like LeBron.
You're put Butler on him, right?
You're going to have to, yeah. Well, Jimmy Butler's guarded him in the past and done a pretty good job. He gives up a couple inches in height, but he's got the physical strength to guard him. You know, the thing is, when you play Cleveland, and this is one of the things that Boston has to figure out, they're not going to beat the Cavaliers, but in the first game, they kind of let them have their cake and eat it too. You can't give up 13 threes to the Cavs and also let them get to the foul line 36 times. They had 65 points on threes and free throws. It's one or the other. You have to take something away. And that means stay extended and don't leave guys as much, and don't let J.R. Smith and Kevin Love and Kyrie get open looks at the three-point line, understanding that you're going to give up more stuff at the rim. Take your chances, but we're taking the three ball out of this as best we can. Or you say, we're loading up on the lane. You guys are going to have to shoot a ton of threes to beat us in the series. Boston didn't really do that. That's what Chicago, if they get to that point in the next round, we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but if that's where they get to, you have to make that decision. You have to play these guys a little bit more straight up and take away some of these open threes, because now they're just gutting you. They're having whatever they want, and you're reacting to what they do with the ball. That's what Boston did in the first game. That's something that Chicago, if they get to that point, is going to have to do differently.
All right, go ahead.
I'd say, like, with the exception of a couple of inches, what's the difference between Jimmy Butler and Kawhi Leonard?
No, that's a great comparison, honestly. And actually, Jimmy Butler right now is a much more consistent shooter than Kawhi Leonard. Kawhi Leonard is a guy that we see bits and pieces and flashes, and you go, man, he's got everything you'd want physically. You can go to a lab and create a basketball player. He's got all of those qualities. He just isn't quite yet at the point where it's his team all the time. You see flashes of it, and I think they're still very dangerous, even in this series with the Clippers, because they now have a guy that can ISO and take over a game and win his matchup every time. They want to go to that late in the shot clock. But it's still not really his team yet. Jimmy Butler, more and more, you see that, you know what, this is really his team right now until Derrick Rose gets all the way back to the level he was at when he was an MVP in this league. So for me, Butler actually has evolved a little bit more offensively than Kawhi Leonard, but physically, it's a great comparison.
All right, Mike and Mike, we got Legs in studio for the hour. There's a lot of things I want to get to, including in 1 minute. I'd like to clear up what it is I said yesterday, what it is I didn't say yesterday, because everyone reacted to what I didn't say yesterday, and then get Tim Legler's thoughts on it. So we'll do that and more as we continue in exactly 1 minute. But right now, a word from AutoZone, where their experts are there to help, no matter what you need to get you and your car back in the zone. And we are thrilled to be partnering with AutoZone to get you where you want to go, and that's to the ESPYs in July. We've been talking a lot about the new contest. Again, today is day 2. It's 4 weeks. I'm going to give you the winning word. You're going to enter, and AutoZone is helping us put together the entire thing. The Mike and Mike Experience Sweepstakes at the ESPYs, presented by AutoZone. We're going to hook up 4 winners and a guest with a Golic and Greeny themed 4-day, 3-night romp through L.A., including a welcome reception at one of L.A.'s hottest new restaurants, an incredible meal, I promise, a caprese salad, and not to mention amazing spa visits, a tour of ESPN's L.A. studios, and then on the big day, you're going to walk the red carpet, you're going to rub elbows with your favorite ESPN personalities, the biggest names in sports and entertainment. You're going to go to the after party. It's going to be an unforgettable experience. So just make sure you listen and watch Mike and Mike, starting now through May 15th. Get all the details at ESPNradio.com/Mike's ESPY contest. It's all brought to you by AutoZone. It's called The Zone. We'll help you get there. Hi, Mike and Mike. Presented by Progressive Insurance. Timmy Legs in studio, his Subway Fresh Take. Del Curry a little later this morning. A lot of good shooting on the show this morning.
I chased that guy around enough screens back in the day. You know, it's funny. People always say, like, who were the toughest guys you ever had to guard? And obviously, it's one of those things where there's, you know, you assume you take Jordan out of the equation, you know, because I was in the league the exact same decade as he won all those rings in the Eastern Conference. So he's out of the equation. Then you start thinking about other guys like Clyde Drexler and Mitch Richmond, was Reggie Miller, obviously. And I'm like, Del Curry was kind of tough to guard because you could play great defense and be a half a second late, and the ball was out of his hand and in. By the time you turned around to see what happened, he had already made the shot.
Like,
the quickest release that I've ever personally guarded. And it puts a lot of pressure on you as a defender because you just can't be late at all on a guy like that. And Steph is obviously very similar. Del was more catch and shoot off screens. Steph does a lot more off the dribble than Del did. But the pressure you have as a defender to just always maintain contact with that guy is tough because if you get there even a fraction of a second late, the ball's in and out of his hand before you can do anything about it. If he misses, it's because he missed. You had nothing to do with it. And Del Curry was that kind of shooter.
I was going to say, explain to the public how quick that shot is, right? Because these guys are catching the ball already in their chest, ready to go up.
The thing about Del, and this is something that all great shooters have to work on if you want to come off screens and be more than a spot-up guy, you have to get those feet turned prior to the ball hitting your hand, and that's what Del Curry was so good at. He could get his hips rotated and his feet turned and planted before the ball hit his hand coming off the screen. It's a very difficult thing to do. But once you do that, now you're square already, and then it's just catch, release, gone. And you know, I remember Del Curry being in college at Virginia Tech, and I was growing up in Virginia and watching him then, and you marvel at it. And now you find yourself, you know, several years later, you're actually guarding him in a game. And you're like, wow, this is kind of daunting. You know, I think it was honestly 2 or 3 times my entire career where I was subbed out of a game because a guy like kind of started going off a little bit. Because if it's a great player like Jordan or Clyde Drexler, you're going to get a lot of double teams. You're going to get help. The ball's going to come out of his hand. Del Curry ran me off 5 screens in a row, on 5 straight possessions. It's wop, 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 wop. Timeout. You're okay. I remember I was actually you know what? I actually kind of agree with that. That's probably a good timeout. Mike and Mike. This is a real problem for me right now.
Timmy Legler is in our studio. Okay, I want to get your take on something I said yesterday, and I understand the way this stuff works. We're on the air early in the morning. So you say something, and then in some cases it becomes like a game of telephone. Like that game the kids will play where you say something, you whisper it to the next person, the next person, the next person, and by the time the 10th person hears it, it's something else entirely. I want to make it 100% clear. I did not say yesterday on the air at any point that Kyrie Irving is better than Dwayne Wade. I never said that. I don't think that. Neither historically nor at the current moment, meaning Kyrie Irving now versus the Dwayne Wade that LeBron James teamed up with a few years ago. Here's what I did say. The fact that Kyrie Irving is 23 years old says that LeBron James has, for the first time, a guy who there may come a time when he starts carrying LeBron. By the time LeBron teamed up with Dwayne Wade was at the very end, I think, of being a guy who could lead a team to a championship, who you say, okay, just I'll ride you and you win us a title, based upon the wear and tear on his legs and his knee and everything else. And it was all about, how many games can he really play great in and all that kind of stuff. That first year that they were together in Miami, Wade was great. It started to slip a little bit from that point forward, and it was LeBron's team. Wade was great. He was a huge part of it. But the really great Dwayne Wade won a championship in 2006 or whatever year that was, when he was one of the 2 or 3 best players in the league. Kyrie Irving is on the ascent. He's 23 years old. He's probably 3 or 4 years away from his prime. And that's probably how many years of his prime LeBron has left. So the point I was trying to make yesterday, and either I didn't make it well or it was wildly misunderstood, is that this team, this figures to be the worst they're going to be for years, because Kyrie is just going to get better and better, and at whatever point LeBron inevitably starts to slip a little bit, Kyrie Irving might be ready at that point to be the best player on a championship team. That's the point I was trying to make, not that Kyrie Irving is better than Dwayne Wade.
Well, that's good. You clarified that, because I didn't actually hear you make the comments, but I actually did some radio hits yesterday nationally, and I'm getting teed up on this question about something you said that wasn't quite the way you just explained it. So I was anxious to get in here this morning myself and have you clarify that.
Well,
that makes total sense.
Yeah.
Now, I will say this. Dwayne Wade, and you have to give him credit from this standpoint. You said he was at the very end. I don't know if he was at the very end when LeBron and he first got together in 2010 and their first finals in 2011. I think he still had a lot more than that in the tank. The one thing about Dwayne Wade, and this is where Kyrie Irving, will he ever get to this point? Dwayne Wade still could absolutely impact the game on the defensive end of the floor. He's one of the most impactful defensive 2 guards this league has ever seen. And Kyrie is still going to do it more at one end than he is at the other. And so Wade, even though he wasn't going to go out and get you 30 anymore maybe because he just didn't have that because of his knees and some of the issues he was having, could still be a guy that could impact the game at his position and help you win a championship, help you win a playoff series at an important moment. Kyrie Irving, let's see if he can morph into that. As far as carrying a team offensively, if they stay together long enough and eventually it being more about him than it is about LeBron offensively, that's a valid point, but I still think you're still talking, several years down the road before that would be the case because, again, LeBron facilitates, he guards, he rebounds, he scores, he does all of those things, whereas Kyrie is still mostly an attacking, scoring-type guard, and that's how he impacts the game. And LeBron's not quite ready to give that role up yet and say, hey, this is more your team than mine. That could be years down the road, but it's a valid point based on the talent base that Kyrie Irving has.
Yeah, Dwayne Wade, historically and otherwise, is a much better player. Kyrie Irving is in his 4th year in the league. He came out of 1 year of college. He's 23 years old. If Kyrie Irving has the career Dwayne Wade has, it'll be unbelievable. It's extremely unlikely. Dwayne Wade is one of the, 20 or so best players that ever lived. So my pal Stugotz from the Dan Le Batard show, again, obviously did not hear what I said, and here's what he had to say.
Let's pump the brakes a second here on Kyrie Irving, honestly. Because when I heard Greeny say today that Kyrie Irving is the best teammate that LeBron James has ever had.
I didn't say that.
Might be.
Well,
that's what he said. Might be in the playoffs, the best teammate that LeBron James has ever had.
Now, you know I love Greeny. You know I love that
Don't
show.
do that. Don't soften it.
But, okay, and I think Colin kind of picked up on that and ran with it a little bit, and I think others in the media did as well. Guys, it was one game against the Celtics with Marcus Smart guarding you. Marcus Smart guarding you. One game against the Celtics. It was a good game. It was the opening round. It was his first playoff game. And again, it was against the Celtics.
Marcus Smart's a pretty good defender.
That's great. When he does what Dwayne Wade did for LeBron James and the Heat team and the organization, when he does it deep in the playoffs, like against the Pacers when they were down 2-1 and Wade had a 3-game stretch in which he was 40 of 65 and averaged 34 points a game, when he does it then, okay, then I'll be impressed. Then we could start talking about Kyrie Irving as LeBron James' best teammate ever. But until then, stop it. You sound silly. I mean, Greeny. He should know better. He's a sports radio veteran. He should absolutely know better. He should. Colin, I'm not so sure. But really? Really? Kyrie Irving's the greatest teammate that LeBron James has ever had.
See, it's funny, and I love those guys, and I'm more than willing to be the part of the joke, but I just want to make it clear, it's not what I said. No one in their right minds would say right now Kyrie Irving is better than Dwayne Wade was then. No one. You'd have to be crazy. But if you just project, if you were to, I don't even know how you would graph this sort of thing, but if you were to project what Kyrie Irving is trending towards becoming, what is it? Like, what do you think Kyrie Irving looks like he's going to be?
I mean, the guy did have 2 50-plus point games. I mean, it's not that the guy isn't an all-star. He's evolving into that player. He just hasn't hit that stride yet in the playoffs.
He is one of, if not the most talented point guard in the game offensively. He is. He's got the handle. He's got the shooting range. He's got the burst and quickness to get to the rim. He's a great finisher with either hand for his size. He's as unstoppable as anybody in the league right now at his position. But let's see. You know, he's going to have much, much bigger moments than he had the other night. And where is he going to be then? Is he going to get it done then in the playoffs? At a moment when the Cavaliers season could be in the tipping point. I think one of the things Stugotz was alluding to was, you go back to Wade, Indiana series, down 2-1 on the road. One of the most important games that LeBron James has ever been involved in, and Dwayne Wade I don't remember exact numbers, around 40 he had in that game, in a playoff game on the road against a much better team, much better moment, much better defensive team. Let's see if Kyrie can have a couple of those moments and help LeBron, continue to add to his legacy and put another ring on his finger.
No question. Let's just make it clear, though. By that time, Dwayne Wade, how old was he? How many playoff games had he been in? He was already a Finals MVP at that point. So that's the finished product of Dwayne Wade. We're seeing Dwayne Wade at his apex. We're seeing Kyrie Irving at his very beginning. Kyrie Irving should be a senior in college right now, right? What did he play? 12 games in college?
12 games, yep.
He played 12 games in college. He got drafted under the post-LeBron Cavaliers, which was like a wasteland. Let's see what he can be. All I'm saying is he looks to me like he's got a chance to be ridiculously good.
The one silver lining in the comments by Stugotz was, he took a shot at you, Colin, but the disdain he has for Marcus Smart. I mean, the way that he said Marcus Smart's name.
He owes an apology to the Smart family.
Out of nowhere. I mean, we're talking about a young, pretty good player.
Totally agree.
Give him a break.
You'll hear much more of what we didn't say today on the Dan Le Batard Show with Stugotz, 4 o'clock Eastern on ESPN Radio.
Mike and Mike.
I love Greeny. I love that
Don't
show.
do that. Don't soften it.
But, guys, it was one game against the Celtics with Marcus Smart guarding you.
The one silver lining in the comments by Stugotz was, he kind of took a shot at you, but the disdain he has for Marcus Smart. I mean, the way that he said Marcus Smart's name.
He owes an apology to the Smart family.
Out of nowhere.
Marcus Smart.
So that's who's really mad at Stugotz. Mike and Mike brought to you by 1-800-Flowers.com. Guys, an incredible offer from 1-800-Flowers.com that she will love. 36 stunning roses for only $36. That's 3 dozen roses for $36. But you have to order today. Go to 1-800-Flowers.com now. Click on the radio microphone, enter Mike, or call 1-800-Flowers and mention Mike. All right, Stugotz is on the phone, of course, on the Dan Le Batard Show, who began all of this with his comments yesterday about Dwayne Wade and Kyrie Irving and LeBron James. All right, Gotz, what do you have to say for yourself?
Well, Greeny, you started it, and one of the great joys of my job is taking your words out of context, spinning them my way, and using it on my show.
Here's the thing. I was thinking about this when we were having our little thing. Like, if you and I actually, there's a million of these wars, right? People get into wars. I stay out of those as best I can. I have more than enough problems in my own life. But if you and I actually got into a fight, that might literally be the worst fight in the history of mankind. Would you agree?
It's the lamest fight, as it is right now. It's the lamest fight in the history of sports radio.
Yeah.
I mean,
we're both apologizing basically for every shot we take at each other. We as Dan Le Batard said, we soften everything we say before we do it, because basically I'm afraid to be in a fight with you and you're afraid to be in a fight with me.
Oh, no doubt about it. And you're not even picking on a guy that's your own size. I'm smaller than you. I'm 5'8". So, like, you're not even picking on a guy because, Greeny, you're pretty tall. I mean, listen, we're two guys who athletically have amounted to nothing, and we're sitting here having a fight about, Kyrie Irving and Dwayne Wade. Greeny, the larger point, I knew what you were trying to say, and my larger point is I don't think Kyrie's best will ever be Wade's best. Like, I'll ask you this question. I'll ask both you and Ted this question. Can you ever imagine Kyrie Irving winning a championship on a team that doesn't have LeBron James on it? Because Wade has done that. He was the MVP. He carried Shaq to a title in 2006. And Kyrie's going to be playing with LeBron like the next 5 or 6 years. So Kyrie will have some years left after LeBron calls it quits whenever that day comes. And I just can't see Kyrie ever being the reason a team wins a championship.
By the way,
wins championships, it will be because of LeBron James.
It does help when you have maybe one of the top 20 greatest players of all time on your team, is Shaquille O'Neal.
Yeah.
Does it not?
That certainly helped. He got Shaquille O'Neal when Shaquille O'Neal, much like Greeny is saying with Dwayne Wade, by the time LeBron got to Wade, Wade was kind of on the back end of his career. By the time Shaq got to Wade, Shaq was definitely at the back end of his career, and Wade carried them to that championship.
Yeah, Wade was the guy on that team. There's no question about it. I guess what I'm saying is I don't know what Kyrie Irving could become 5 years from now, but what I do think, I guess I will answer your question directly and say I don't think it's impossible. If you're asking me, will a team ever win a championship with Kyrie Irving as its best player, I would say, yeah, I think it could. Now, it's probably 5 years hence, but in 5 years, Kyrie Irving will be 28. And that's the point.
Right.
That's the point I'm making. He's 23 years old. He played 12 games of college. This is his 4th NBA season. So he came into the league a lot younger and a lot less accomplished, even though he was the number 1 pick, than Wade, who played, if I'm not mistaken, 3 years at Marquette and went to a Final Four, didn't he? Am I getting that right?
Yeah, he 3 years at Marquette, went to the Final Four once with Tom Crean, and then won that title in 2006. Listen, I'm not even disagreeing with what you're saying. If you listen back to what I said, I'm like, let's just kind of pump the brakes on this conversation. It might be a conversation that we have one day. And I realize, listen, Greeny, we all do the same thing. So I realize what you're saying, and we're all trying to get reactions and bring up different points.
You're softening it again.
Yeah, this is a terrible fight.
You're softening it
Stu,
again.
You're right, I am softening.
We're doing exactly what
it's a ridiculous thing to say. I mean, it's just a ridiculous thing.
We're doing exactly what everyone would expect us to do. Let's have a real fight. Let's figure this out. We'll talk later. We'll have a nosh, and we'll talk, and we'll figure out some way that we can have like some real battle, because that could be really fun. I've never had a battle. Let's try having one.
Okay, but you and I can have a battle, but you agree it will be the lamest battle. Whenever we agree upon, we can plan it out as much as we want. It's going to be the lamest battle in history of sports radio that no one will. I'm not even certain you and I will take it that
seriously. It ain't exactly Mayweather and Pacquiao. Let's put it that way. If you and I were having a fight in outside in the back lawn, people would be closing their windows and the drapes.
Right.
But one way or another,
I imagine you tiptoeing to me, like slapping me, and then kind of stepping back, running away 3 steps, and me coming to you and doing the same thing.
But here's the one thing I have going for me. I got Golic I can stand behind. So Dan is tough, but he's not as big as Golic.
Yeah, Dan's in Miami. He's chilling.
I can stand behind Golic.
We have Battier as a guest co-host now, who happened to agree with me when I was going on my rant yesterday. So can I stand behind Battier? Because I don't want to stand behind him.
If you stand behind Battier, I won't be able to see you at all. So
Battier is not that tough.
I'm wondering if Battier, who's a better ally there? Is it Battier or Golic? Who's a better? I think Golic probably wins that, right?
Well, he's probably stronger, but Battier is 1,000 times smarter. So it really depends on what you're looking for. All right, Gotts, we got to run.
I could use the intelligence on my side. I can tell you that.
Thanks, my man. Thanks for the fight. It'll get me a little cred.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
See you later. That's Stugotz from the Dan Le Batard Show, 4 o'clock coast to coast here on ESPN Radio.
I would pay money to see that fight on pay-per-view.
Can we see me and Stugotz?
Oh, I think it would be great.
Maybe we could be on the prelim. I used to box.
Really?
Well, I say that, and then people always say, really. No, I didn't used to box. I used to take boxing as a workout.
Best cardio out there, by the way.
It was a great workout, and it was a lot of fun, because the instructor, the guy that I'm working with, I didn't get good. I got to where I felt in really good shape, and I was throwing punches correctly and jab, and then, put your hips into a real punch. And then he would start telling me, okay, I'm now going to throw a left cross. I'm now going to throw this. Roll. So you learn how to move them. I can't imagine doing it where someone is trying to punch you and not telling you about it.
Well, no, I was thinking more like, the whole kind of Knights fight where you guys come out and slap each other
with a white glove.
Yeah, I was thinking more like that.
Well, then we'd have to, walk some number of paces, turn around, and shoot each other. That would be a duel,
great TV,
if you will. All right, listen, Jay, thanks a million.
Thanks for having me.
These last 2 days have been a lot of fun.
They're awesome.
Really enjoyed it. The big fella will be back tomorrow. We'll have a lot to get to. Bill Walton tomorrow, Jason Stark trivia tomorrow, so we'll have plenty on that. We got Clippers and Spurs tonight. Real quick, who's going to win that game?
I'm going Clippers at home. 94% chance of winning after you win 2 games, right?
The team that is up 2-0 in a playoff series goes on to win it 94% of the time in the NBA.
Clippers lock it up tonight.
So the Clippers could basically, amazingly, not lock that thing up if they were to win it tonight. We'll see. Should be a lot of fun to watch. Everyone enjoy the day.
This has been the best of Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio Pod Center. To hear more from Mike and Mike, log on to ESPNradio.com and become an ESPN Radio Insider.
The best of Mike and Mike.
Hey, Mike Golic here, and I certainly love to fish. And when my dad took me out fishing for the first time when I was 6 and I caught that bluegill, I was so proud. Such a great memory, an experience everybody should have. Whether it's the first of the day or first of a lifetime, TakeMeFishing.org wants you to get out and make your first catch. And if you show them using hashtag FirstCatchSweeps, you can win an Evinrude E-Tech G2 powered Ranger bass boat. Learn more at TakeMeFishing.org.
No purchase necessary. 48 U.S. and D.C. 18 and older. Ends 5/25/15. Void in Alaska, Hawaii, and where prohibited. See site for rules.
Two of baseball's best go head-to-head in interleague action when the Tigers head to St. Louis to face the Cardinals. That one is gone. The pregame at 7 Eastern, first pitch at 8, Sunday on ESPN and ESPN Radio.